Hey guys, so there's this thing called Top 10 Tuesday, which the blog The Broken the Bookish hosts every Tuesday, and it's basically a thing where a bunch of book blogs post like top 10 lists every week, all on the same topic. Participated for a little bit on a regular basis, but I haven't for a really long time. But I do read a lot of Top 10 Tuesday posts on other blogs. Recently they had a topic that I believe was something like your favorite books that have less than 2,000 ratings on Goodreads or something like that. I really like that idea because I really like the idea of giving attention to books that don't have many ratings on Goodreads. So I've decided to kind of do something like that in this book. I'm going to stick to 5 books, and all of them have less than 500 ratings on Goodreads. I've ranked them in the order I read them, not necessarily in like quality or which ones I enjoyed the most. 4 of them are nonfiction, 1 of them is fiction. These are all books that I gave 5 stars when I read them, and they're also books that I've read relatively recently, like within the past year, I believe. So the first book is The China Mirage, The Hidden History of American Disaster in Asia by James Bradley. This book looks at the United States' relationship with China from the 1850s to World War II. I took AP World History and AP US History in high school. I don't remember learning much about the US's relationship with China until like communism, basically, I think. So most of this was news to me. I knew about the opium stuff to a certain extent. I didn't know all of the details in this book. I didn't know how involved certain prominent Americans were in the opium trade with China, so that was interesting. Overall, it was just a very interesting book, I think. I love books that focus on aspects of history that I didn't learn much about in school. Next book is Arab and Jew, Wounded Spirits in a Promised Land by David K. Shipler. This book has won the Pulitzer Prize, and this is a revised and updated edition. The writer of this book is a New York Times journalist who was like stationed in Israel for a while, and this book, it's thick, it goes into a lot of detail. He talks to so many people. He talks to so many Muslims, he talks to so many Jews, he talks to like Jews living in Israel, Jews living in the West Bank, Muslims living in the West Bank, Muslims living in Israel. Basically, he talks to like anyone you can possibly imagine, like so many different types of people. The book is on such a difficult topic, and it never it's never preaching an answer to everything. It's never saying this is totally what needs to happen. It's more just looking at how everyone involved views what's going on and kind of exploring all of the different opinions of all of the people living in the area and seeing what they say, kind of exploring why they think the way they do. It talks a lot about the education systems within like Israel and within the West Bank and how that affects things, which was part of the book that I really enjoyed. It really makes you think about the conflict very complexly and forces you to read so many different people's point of views, and I think it was an amazing book. The third book is Household Workers Unite, The Untold Story of African American Women Who Built a Movement by Pramila Nadesan. I hope I'm saying her last name right. This book is on the civil rights movement as led by like household workers or domestic workers who, of course, started off primarily being African American women and now in present day have become primarily Hispanic women. Of course, I learned about the civil rights movement in my history classes in school, but never this aspect of the civil rights movement and what household workers were doing. Very, very good book, and it's much shorter than the last one too, so it's not as like dense of a read, but is also like very, very good. The last 2 books on the list were ebooks, so I don't actually have books to hold up and show you. Fourth is Democracy in Black, How Race Still Enslaves the American Soul by Eddie S. Claude Jr. This book looks at race in America today, explores all of like the current movements, especially like Black Lives Matter. It plays a big role in the book, like talking about how it began and like what it is, and talking a lot about the tension between like Black Lives Matter activists and like older civil rights movements and how they're connected, how they're different, and current like civil rights movements kind of alongside Black Lives Matter, and how like they might defer, work together, things like that, and talking about how like younger Black Americans view civil rights as opposed to older Black Americans and things like that. And I think it's a very important book on a very important topic that like everyone needs to like learn about. Number 5 is 15 Lanes by S.J. Laidlaw, which is the only fiction book on the list. It follows Noor, a young girl from India who has grown up in a brothel, and she's been given an education, which is extremely rare. People have told her mom for a long time that she shouldn't bother to educate a female child, but her mom has educated her anyway. And you know, she has like the hopes of escaping the brothel and actually like doing something. She's an incredibly good student, one of I can't remember, she might be the best student in her class, but because she's grown up in a brothel and her mom is a prostitute, the owner of the brothel basically views her as his property. He fully expects her to make money for him in the future, and he doesn't want to let her escape. So the book is her story, and kind of it deals with a lot of her life. You do have some stuff that happens like early in the book, and then you go to like her teenage years, where the owner of the brothel and like the people who run the brothel for the owner are starting to pressure her to become a prostitute, like because she's gotten, I think she's like 14, she's not that old, but they're starting to put pressure on her, and she is resisting and her mom's resisting. Just her story is a very powerful story. I would highly recommend the book. So those are the 5 books that each of them have less than 500 ratings on Goodreads. I would highly recommend all of them, and I hope that you check at least one of them out. If you have any books you know of that have less than 500 ratings on Goodreads but are amazing, you should definitely let me know in the comments, whether it's like nonfiction, fiction, anything, and I will see you guys later. Bye.